Hey guys! So today I thought I would cover the topic of subscription services, and we have canceled just about everything. So I think you'll find it interesting, A, what we've canceled, B, what we've kept, and C, our workarounds for what we don't have. So you guys know the usual routine around here. I have a whole page of notes, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I try to look at the camera when I talk and then glance at the notes and look back up and talk, but we know I'm not going to manage to consistently do that the whole time, so that's fine. So first of all, our subscriptions do not include our utilities. So they don't include our electric and they don't include our internet. I know some people will rope internet into what they consider a subscription, but to be perfectly honest, in the modern world, it's kinda necessary, especially for things like paying a lot of our bills and stuff. It is absolutely arduous to go through life having to pay those by mail around here, and a lot of things that we still enjoy for free are also through the internet. So even though our internet is pricey, thanks for going up again, Spectrum, it's still absolutely worth it, and I would honestly consider it a necessary utility, and so does Chris, because we did talk about it at one point, and we are in firm agreement that yes, the internet has to stay. So before I get into what we canceled, I want to really quick mention what we still have, because that list is a lot shorter, worlds shorter. So Chris still does Dollar Shave Club because that is actually significantly cheaper for his razors than going to the store. I still buy my razors from the store because I have really sensitive skin and I'm really picky about what I get, but he's not as worried about it, so he still does Dollar Shave Club, which I think is like $5 or $7 a month. He's not here to ask, and I'm not going to bother looking it up. And then I actually have the photographer subscription for the Adobe Creative Suite because I do photo editing and things like that, but also now that I am more into this YouTube stuff, normally I would prefer to use the full Adobe Creative Suite, so I would use InDesign, Illustrator, and Premiere, but I can use a free program. I use a thing called Kdenlive for editing videos, which isn't perfect, but it's the closest free program to Premiere that I found, and it's perfectly workable. And Adobe Photoshop has actually gotten a lot better about their vector artwork. It still obviously is outputting as bitmap pixel. It's still not vector when it's outputted, but the fact that you can draw on that program easier is significantly better. So I still have the Adobe Photographer subscription, and I use Photoshop and Lightroom out of that. That was an unnecessarily long amount of time to talk about the subscriptions that we still have, but it's just those two. So the subscriptions that I'm about to list off, we did not have them all simultaneously. A lot of what's on this list is a lot of stuff that was mine that we had for a while, and then either I canceled them before I even started dating Chris, or I canceled them shortly after moving into the apartment. So it's kind of a nebulous timeline, and I do tally up what the subscriptions cost, but not necessarily all at the same time, but I think it's still important to talk about. And then I'll give you guys kind of an estimate of the most I think we paid collectively at the end here, besides the actual hard numbers that I wrote down. So the first things on this list that I'll just mention both of them together, I used to get the Ipsy Beauty Bag and Birchbox, and Ipsy was $12 a month, and Birchbox, I think when I got it, was about $15 or $20 a month. And they're both beauty subscription services, and I loved Ipsy, I really did, but the problem that I had is obviously it's a monthly fee, and it just seemed incredibly wasteful because you get a makeup bag every month, and I still have nearly all of them, but you get a makeup bag every month, and I mean, who needs like 24 makeup bags after a couple of years? It's just kind of outrageous. But on top of that, the products themselves, even though they were great, like I loved nearly everything that came in it, there were some things that it's like, I'm never gonna wear this. Like certain shades of lipstick, as great as the lipstick might be, you know, I don't necessarily wear hot orange lipstick. Or one of the biggest problems I had with Birchbox, and a lot of the Birchbox stuff I got was much more skincare focused, I ended up being allergic to a lot of stuff. The next thing that I have on the list that I just recently canceled is my gym membership. And anyone that knows me, even though I don't look like the most athletic person ever, I flippin' love going to the gym. I absolutely love going to the gym. But I was running into a couple problems. The first one is, and I had a membership that doesn't even exist anymore. I was grandfathered in for $20 a month plus an annual $49 like renewal fee or whatever. Most gyms do it. It's not like that's shady or anything. But it ended up where $20 a month kind of seemed like a lot. And I had health insurance that was covering it, sort of. And even though they were covering it, like we were paying up front and then I was getting a refund or a rebate months later. And $20 a month is kind of a lot. And especially like the way my work schedule worked, it was hard to go sometimes. And also it's sunny out very few days here where we live. It's like London. I don't know if it's actually like London, but like it's cloudy here, I swear to God, more than it's not. And so the sun would be out, but I had to hit a certain number of check-ins to get this health insurance reimbursement. So birds chirping, beautiful day, I'd have to go to the gym instead. And once it felt like an actual obligation, there was no fun on those days. Not to mention, when it snows around here, people lose their ever-loving minds and act like they've never seen it snow before. And it snows heavy duty around here. We're pretty close to Buffalo, New York, and we get lake effect snow off of Lake Ontario. So there's times you wake up and there's 2 or 3 feet of snow and life moves on like normal, but people cannot drive. And so it also really sucks when you're trying to go to the gym and not die, even though it's not that far away. And it just, this has gone on way too long. But the moral of the story is I canceled my gym membership despite loving going to the gym. The next thing I threw on this list, even though it didn't ever actually cost us anything, when I moved into the apartment, I got free cable TV with my rent, and then they dropped that deal with the cable provider, and I never wanted to pay for cable, so we just haven't ever had cable TV, and we also don't have a digital antenna, and we live just fine without it. But cable around here, I mean, you can get a basic package for 20 or 30 bucks. A pretty standard package is like $50 to $70, and I know people that they pay like $120 or $150 a month. So I put cable on the list just because it's a common one, but we don't actually have cable TV at all. The next thing that I included on the list was Netflix. Most people have a Netflix subscription. I had Netflix for years, like probably 6 years. I don't even know at this point. I had Netflix for forever. And I used to watch it more regularly. I used to, binge watch TV shows like everybody else. But over the last few years, I've had a couple things happen where it's too hard for me to sit all day at work and then come home and sit in front of the TV. I need to move, I need to get out, I need to do stuff. Like even if I just shuffle around the apartment and clean stuff, I cannot come home and sit still for hours. And I know people that like their favorite thing to do is go home and watch the latest thing that's come up on Netflix, the newest season of whatever. I just can't. We had Netflix for forever, and I finally one day looked at the watch history, and this was after Chris had moved in. So he'd lived with me like a year, I guess. And My mom was watching the ever-loving heck out of Netflix. She was just watching all the shows. So that was all in the watch history. But I realized that we had paid for like 6 straight months, I think it was, and neither one of us had watched a single thing. And Netflix was like, I think I put $13 on here. Yeah, I think we were paying $13 a month. And I would encourage anybody that, you know, has a Netflix subscription and you don't watch it every single night to divide out per show or per movie what you're really paying to see if it's really worth it. And I'll talk about some alternate TV type things in a minute. But yeah, Netflix, that turned out to be pricier than we thought. So we actually canceled that after talking to my mom. And she has Netflix through my brother now, so it's no big deal. Amazon Prime. Everybody loves to have Amazon Prime. But how much do you really buy where you need that free quick shipping? Or I know it's expanded out to TV shows and movies and stuff too. We were running into the issue that Amazon Prime wasn't worth it because, like Netflix, we weren't watching any TV shows or anything like that, or you'd go to look for a movie and it wouldn't be on there. Or the other thing was that we just weren't buying anything that we were using the shipping on. So it works out to about $8.25 per month when you break it down. And I don't even think we were buying one item a month off of Amazon to make any of that shipping worth it. One of the other things that I put on here that I canceled just before I moved into this apartment was something called Just Fab. And it's actually a shoe subscription service. So you get a credit basically, and then you shop on the website and your credit is good for like any pair of shoes off of the site. And this was when I essentially only had sneakers. So I was trying to get some more professional shoes and sandals and boots and stuff. And I had the service, I think, for 4 or 5 months. And the shoes I was getting for $40 a month felt low quality and just, they didn't always fit right. They didn't have a lot of cushioning. Like, it just was super not worth it. And $40 a month, like, I can go to the mall and get a way better pair of shoes for $40 than what I was getting from this service. So the next thing on here was Audible. I used to have an Audible subscription, and I think that was 15 or 16 bucks a month. Also from Amazon, we have a lot of Amazon on this list. I used to pay for the Kindle Unlimited service, and that was 10 bucks a month. And for quite a few months, I was reading enough that that was super worth it. And then I started to commute back and forth to work from when I lived at my parents' house. So I really didn't have any time to read because that's a really long drive. And I've just never picked up that much of a reading habit to that degree again. Plus I'm working through what's on my bookshelf that I've had sitting around. So Kindle Unlimited, I just cut the service and never went back. And the last thing on the list, which is a real throwback, and I canceled it probably the year before I canceled Netflix, was Netflix DVD. And that was $7 or $8 a month. And I realized it was time to cancel when I had the same DVD for 2 straight months and didn't watch it. So, whoops. All of these services totaled together without cable TV in it is $145.25. If you include kind of an average cable package for around here, like an average sort of basic-ish package with another $50, that's $195.25 in freaking subscriptions. I would say collectively probably the highest that we paid all at once in a month would still probably be like $80. And some people might say that's not that bad, but for us, that's so much money. That's what I pay for my student loans in a month, roughly. Like $80 freaking dollars. And I know people that do like let's try that in English. HelloFresh and Blue Apron and all those different things. And like it just adds up. And I know people love shopping and love getting these surprise boxes. Like, I think one of the biggest offenders for me is Loot Crate. Like, I know people that get Loot Crate and then they don't like any of what comes in the box and they still keep paying for it every month. Like, if they have, you know, a bunch of Harry Potter stuff in there and you're not a Harry Potter fan, yeah, you can give that stuff to other people, but it's all stamped with Loot Crate exclusive. Like, people know where you got it. So it just, I don't know, it just seems awful, I guess, to get these subscription services where there's surprises, which is great. Humans love a surprise. We're programmed to love a lot of surprises, but it just is so wasteful and consumerist, and this is just turning into a video that it didn't need to turn into, but like, I would really think about what subscription services you use and maybe cut some or all of them. And speaking of which, this is what we use as substitutes since we don't have any of these services anymore. One thing that we use to fill a lot of time, and I'm sure this will not surprise anybody, is tons and tons of YouTube. Like, just an unholy amount of YouTube. But it works, it's great. Like, it's real people sharing real stories, and you still get some of these other, like, taste of TV type things where, you know, like magazines or even TV channels themselves are putting out like extra tidbits of content and stuff, and the algorithm is pretty good at predicting what we each like. It's a little hard to watch stuff together because we each have separate YouTube accounts for our own like personal watch habits, but there's still a bunch of crossover of stuff that we'll both just sit down and watch it together at dinner time. Another thing that we have that was either super cheap or a gift, I forget which. I actually think it might have been a gift from an ex for me. But we have an Amazon Fire Stick, and again, Amazon is on this list. They're just everywhere, but we don't pay for anything off of the Fire Stick. We use some of the free apps. So I really like Tubi TV because they have a bunch of anime, and I really love anime, and I just finished rewatching Cowboy Bebop, which was awesome. Didn't cost anything. They have another one that I think is called Crunch TV. Don't quote me on that. Oh no, Crackle. It's called Crackle. And we just watched all of the Rocky movies for free on there, which was pretty great. And they have a bunch of other stuff too. And the other one that we really like is Pluto TV, which is just an app with a bunch of like TV channels in it. It also has stuff that you can do like on demand. Another good one, depending on what your local library offers, a lot of libraries have Hoopla or Overdrive or something along those lines, where as long as your library card is in good standing, you can get audiobooks, you can get movies, you can get music and like e-reads and all sorts of stuff. Of course, one of my personal favorites, and it's kind of what I fill my time with when I'm cleaning or doing something where I can't have a real visual aspect to it, but I do still want to learn or be entertained or whatever. I freaking love podcasts. I have a whole list of podcasts that I absolutely love and listen to, and they're all free. They're all just on iTunes for free. It's freaking great. There's so much more that you can do with your time, and like, think back to what you used to do in the 90s, before you had Netflix, before you had all of this on-demand stuff. What did you do with your time? But the point still stands that there are plenty of free ways to enjoy a lot of things, and maybe you'll miss out a little bit on the newest, biggest, best. Maybe you won't be caught up on whatever has come into everyone's lives to replace Game of Thrones or whatever. Anyway, this video has gone on way too long. I thought this was going to be like 7 minutes, and it's not. So I would love to hear down below what subscriptions you've either kept and why, or what you've cut and why. And I'll see you guys in the next one.